to the fantastically named Bloody Oaks Quarry north of Stamford. It actually gets its name because this was the site of a War of the Roses battle, the Battle of Losecoat. You can read up more about this on the internet, but there was a huge battle here, 100,000 plus men, and the name Bloody Oaks is derived from those times, I think 1470, a long time ago, and probably gives a clue to the nature of the battle. Really, it wasn't much of a skirmish, although there was a lot of people involved. It was a one-sided massacre, and the name Bloody Oaks has lingered in this area, not just at this quarry, but elsewhere ever since. So yeah, it's referred to as an old limestone quarry. It's really a stone pit. It's really not big enough to be a quarry. My old maps show that it was active around about 1880, 1890. By the early 1900s it was marked as a site of old quarry, so it must have finished a long time ago, 100 odd years ago. So but it's left behind, as these quarries tend to do, a limestone rich grassland area. It's a site of special scientific interest, and it's considered by Leicestershire, and we're just in the Leicestershire area now, just over the border, as one of their top grassland areas. Great for butterflies, great for some very rare plants here. Orchids actually is not one of them. You can walk around here and see half a dozen orchids in total, really. But there's one here that was discovered about 5 years ago that was a first ever record for this county of this particular orchid, and I make an annual pilgrimage here every year to see it. I'll be honest, and I sneaked in here 2 weeks ago to have a sneak preview, and it wasn't here. At least I couldn't find it, so a little bit nervous. I'm hoping I'll find it. I won't say too much more until I do find it. I'm going to go and have a look now, so I'll fill you in, hopefully, touch wood, in a few moments' time. I was about to say I hadn't found a single orchid strolling through here, but spotted this little bee orchid in the long grass, which is a good sign for what we're looking for, actually, as you'll hopefully find out in a moment. But there used to be half a dozen or so bee orchids on this site, no more than that. Last year I struggled to find any, so I'm quite happy that I found one at least. Okay, well, it took 20 minutes or so searching a small area of grassland here to try and find this elusive plant, and rather bizarrely I found another one, and I'm pretty sure this is a new one because I've had to really unearth this one amongst long grass to find it. This looks like a bee orchid, and it is a bee orchid, but it's a variant of the bee orchid that is given the common name of being a wasp orchid. The reason being that the shape of the flower is considered to look more like a wasp than a bee. Bee orchids have a very sort of bulbous flower, particularly at the bottom half of the flower. It's quite sort of wide. I'll try and find a standard one in a moment, but with a wasp orchid it narrows down, as this one does, and at the very bottom you have what looks like, I guess people think it's a little stinger hanging off the bottom, and it was given the name wasp orchid. But it's a variant of the bee orchid. It's not a new species, but they're very rare. You don't see many of these. This is not the plant. I'm sure this is not the plant that should be here. This is a young one and a new one and a second one, hopefully. I say second one, I can't find the first one at the moment, but that is a wasp orchid, which is what I've come here to find. 6 inches away from the wasp orchid. This is a standard young bee orchid, and you can see the shape of the flower is a very sort of bulbous, round bottom half there. It's significantly different. Now, if you bear with me, I'm just going to rotate this round now and show you the wasp orchid, which is right next to it. You can see it's definitely not a sort of bulbous, rounded flower. It comes down to a point and a much narrower flower, and that is a wasp orchid. Well, this is proving quite a bizarre little search now, because I was very close to walking away. I still can't find the wasp orchid that I've seen here in previous years. It's a much bigger plant, and I know roughly where it was to within 6 foot, and I still can't see it. I suspect it might be there, and I'm going to have another look again before giving up in a moment. But having found that additional wasp orchid, which I was well chuffed with, I found another one, which by my reckoning makes 3 wasp orchids on the same site, which is pretty amazing stuff. So this is a particularly nice one down by my feet, so I'll swing the camera around and show you this one. But yeah, very impressed with that. Well, there she is, a much more mature plant than the one I've just found, but again, unmistakably a wasp orchid. Very, very distinct flower. This one is right next to the path as well, so yeah, I hope it survives, but it's definitely in the trample zone, and it's got several flowers still to come. So this is going to be a spectacular wasp orchid in a few weeks' time, or probably in a 7-10 days' time. Well, there you have Bloody Oaks Quarry. If you want to find this place, it's up the A1. Take the left turn to Empingham, and it's about 200 yards along on your left, but it's on the internet, so directions are all there. Just Google Bloody Oaks Quarry. Always thought there was one wasp orchid here. I now know there's more than one wasp orchid here, which yeah, very, very, very surprised, pleasantly surprised. It's made it a good trip this morning, and yeah, it makes me think there's probably more than 2 or 3 here. So I never found the one I was looking for, but found 2 new ones, so that's even better. So yeah, that's Bloody Oaks Quarry for you.